Alright guys, let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna do some sort of stream. I mean, we're doing hex mapping is what we're doing, but I'm not quite sure how long we're gonna go. We'll see. First time kind of trying out this specific time period for doing a stream. And with that in mind, I actually need to do first. Probably tell some people that we're gonna stream, right? Probably. That'd probably be good. And let's say here. Or just drop a little Twitter in, just in case some extra people want to join us while we're doing this. And hopefully you guys are doing all right. You guys doing all right tonight? Well, at least it's tonight for me. If you're watching this when we're doing it. Yeah, we can do that. Bing. Boom. Oh. Not what I want. All right. And I guess while I'm thinking about it, I should probably do BlueSky as well. Yes, thank you. I already have an account. I try to remember my password. There it is. Yeah. Alright. So I got it. Didn't get that post going. Okay. So hopefully things are going well for you. Things are going alright for me. Winding down today. A little drink to go with it. Ooh. Exceptionally gingery. What we like. It's spicy. So, we are going to do a little bit of... We're going to do some hex map. Arctic hex mapping, but before we do that, I actually need to do one other thing before we get there, is that I actually need to take a step back. Oh, nope, this is not the right one. I gotta find this document real quick. I realized as I made a few different changes that I needed to update one of my documents. And under, put this under. Look at the upgrade doc. Upgrade doc is not. I mean, I guess yeah, we can use upgrade. That's fine. This wasn't the one I was planning to use. I was planning to use a different document, but this will work. This will work. Fine, because I also need to use. Yeah. All right, I found the document. Because I realized I need to tweak a few little things on the hex map, the local hex map that I'm using for my current campaign that I'm running. Because there are a few things that I originally put in there, and now as I've changed up some of my text stocking points of interest and how that goes, that I want to make a few tweaks. There are some things that don't necessarily fall in line, so I'm going to make a few tweaks to that. We'll go through them real quick, and then we'll jump over to the Arctic hex map and get that going. But that's the plan, and we'll see how it will go. Of course, if you guys have any questions, just go ahead and throw them in chat, and I'll answer them as we can. Otherwise, this is going to be pretty low low kind of energy because I'm just going to be stocking a hex map. Now, occasionally we'll get some interesting stuff, but generally it's a bit of a slow, leisurely kind of experience. So get yourself a nice beverage. Sit back. If you're working on something else, you know, throw me up on the second screen. We'll get to it. This is definitely going to be, unfortunately, probably some second screen content. As interesting as it is to watch me do a filling in a hex map. But before we do that, before I hop over here, I do want to say is that, hey, if you're playing in my campaign and you know this smiling face in person, this is probably not one you should watch because I'm about to look at the exact map that you guys are going through. So you should not do that. That's your one warning. If you watch after that, it's on you. It's not on me. It's on you. Go ahead and get that over there. All right. So I pulled this up. I need to lock my window capture. Is that the one I need? No, that's not what I need. Yeah. Okay. There we go. There we go. That's full. Perfect. No problem, dude. All right. So we're just gonna go through the hex map, and I'm gonna update it real quick. So on the bottom, if you're wanting to know what thing I'm using, this is HexDML. It is a free web app that you can pick up and play with if you want to do hex mapping. It is hextml.playest.net. That's playest.net. But yeah, it's fun. I've been using this thing for years. It's not the most perfect thing in the world. It does have some issues, but for free it works really, really well. And it allows you to save your stuff offline as an HTML document, and you can always upload it wherever you are and work on it whenever you have time. So if you have breaks at work or school or whatever, you can always pick it up and work on it whenever. So we have no points of interest up here. We'll just kind of go across. We'll just go row by row. That'll be the easiest. No, none there. Get that Dragon Skull Pseudo Dragon Nest. The thing. Castle Ruins. We're just gonna go ahead. At least I was writing no POI on no point of interest, but then I stopped. So let's be consistent. Yeah. Because this map is fully keyed as it should be at this point. Interest. We've got our Modrons, our lost Modrons that my party is aware of. They just don't know where they are. Little hamlet for us. Nothing there. I mean, I guess I could ask. No, that's fine. Usually I wouldn't put stuff in there. There are some of these hexes that you'll notice are a little bit darker. These are the border hexes. They're the same things as these red hexes. It's just I filled in pieces of them. Just so it's clear traveling between different hexes what kind of terrain you'd be going across. But I generally don't put points of interest in them because they're technically in between two hexes. Sometimes three hexes depending on what position they're in. Nothing there. Nothing there. Alright, that's Kashani Kirith's Keep. Murmuring Hills. Lavender Grove, which they're dealing with right now. No point of interest. And that's our giant battlefield. No point of interest. Our travel haven. Our Fae survival shelter, which they also know about, but they have not been to yet. The conflict area here. Yeah. That's right, there's a dryad clutch here. Landmark location where Ghazi was martyred in the giant war. More giant ruins. No POI, no POI, no POI. Cockatrice Warren. A Pegasus. Watering hole. I guess it should be Pegasi? Pegasus. Well, I assume that there's probably only going to be one there when they meet it, so we'll just say Pegasus. No point of interest. Our exploded survival shelter, which they have learned about. No point of interest. Oh, this is where the giant kin raiders are, where that canal is. Go ahead and put a no POI there because we don't have one. So yeah. No, this is the one. Is that the one we need? No, that's not the one we need to change. There's an old tomb. It's hot filled. HOTT. That's hazards, obstacles, tricks, and traps. So this is going to be the type of dungeon that's a little bit more trap oriented, a little less monster oriented. No point of interest. All right. Bay Farah's heap. No point of interest. No point of interest. No point of interest. Interest. Our potash swamp. No point of interest. There. And the watchtower. Point of interest. No point of interest. No point of interest. For those who are wondering sort of how large each of these hexes are about. So when I use a different scale when I'm hex mapping. I have a video on it on the channel if you want to get into like the nitty gritty. There's 4 different levels of sizes of hexes, and they, Matryoshka doll, all fit within each other. And so the smallest hexes are the smallest hex size I actually make. They are side to side about 2 nautical miles long. That's not quite 2.5 statute miles. And the reason we use nautical miles is because it folds in very easily in base 12 into lines of longitude and latitude. So having, like I said, the Matryoshka dolls with the different hex levels, that means that from the very top to the very bottom, everything fits very neatly into each hex as it goes down. Which I found very useful, and also it's a very common way that we already measure how distances are done around the globe. So it just made sense to kind of continue with that. It's got a slight learning curve to it because it uses minutes and seconds. It's all base 12 rather than base 10, which is usually what we think of when we do normal math or maths. So it's a slight difference. It's very similar to if you need to do any sort of mathematical calculations with like time, like a clock, which is also base 12. All right. No points of interest there. We had our little hamlet. We have our treasure room. There's an armory here. They haven't learned anything about yet. So my players have learned a lot about this stuff over the past, well, we've been playing the sandbox, I guess a little over half a year now. So they've come across a number of these things, but there's still plenty of stuff they have not learned about yet. And even less stuff they've actually checked out. The survival cache. Oh, we didn't put an APL on that, did we? We didn't put an APL on all of this stuff. Where did I stop putting APLs at? There's an APL. APL, of course, stands for average party level. Alright, well, I don't have an APL for this, so here's what we're going to do. Is that I'm going to just roll one real quick. Everything in here should be APL level 1 through 4. That's generally everything for a low-level hex. Lowest level hexes, because the hexes in addition, so there are 4 layers of hexes, which means they go from the very, very top atlas-sized hexes to the very, very bottom, which is the ones we're looking at, which are the local-sized hexes. And so at each scale, that means that each scale deals with one band of play as far as D&D is concerned. So anything that's going to show up in these size hexes that we have here should be an APL 1 through 4. Should be something that can be approached, should be an appropriate challenge for basically that first tier of adventure parties 1, 2, 3, or 4. All right, so this was APL 04. I'm gonna put this down here. Another APL. Apparently, I didn't fill out all this out. That's a problem when you work on this thing in things like this in multiple shifts. So doing it all at once. But sometimes they're doing different stuff. All right, we have our struggling cheesemonger, which was a adventure hook that the players did not take. Another 4. Okay. All right. Not sure what's going on there. Only one way to find out. Okay, we got that. They've been here. They've done this one, the gold prospecting. No, never mind. No, they haven't. They've been close to it. Right? No, they've been here. I take that back. This was the gold prospecting. It ended up being a dungeon, though. I should probably put in here. There should be in here. This was the Golden Groff dungeon. Maybe a low one. So they've already run through this dungeon and completed it. There is Arbab Drusilia. Conflict area. We got an APL. I did not give that an APL. Alright. Let's roll it. 3. Got it. Perfect. Dropping it in. You guys got one. There's no point of interest there. They are dealing with these guys right now. Our Vegapygmies. Our notice board. But our Omen, they haven't been there yet. They've spent most of their time in the beginning of the campaign at the very southern tip of this. This is an island, by the way. Look, island and sort of like the associated mangrove swamps and wetlands that are kind of around it. Think of it a very sort of like Everglades, Florida kind of feel, but also a little bit more tropical than that. So maybe something like an Amazon's a little bit closer approximation. No point of interest there, because they are definitely in a very sort of like subtropical area. Tropical, subtropical area. No point of interest there. Or there's a point of interest, but I didn't do the APL. Yellow 3. A low tide land bridge that they can go across. This is a larger one. This is a APL 5 through 10, which we could go ahead and roll. That's D6 instead. Let's just go ahead and firm it up while I'm here. All right. Well, there we go. An APL 05. Which means that this a little bit. This Sorlix Betlog Kishti, the Cypress Swamp Fairy, is actually a larger settlement. So if we zoomed out and went one layer up on our hex map, this would still be on that hex map. We've just drawn it down into this, and this is the specific area where it is in, but it would be the primary hex for sort of like this big area around here. It would be the notable feature. But once you get down and you get a little bit more granular, we see that there's a bunch of different stuff down here as well. Cathra's Hut. For sure. Got that. Knock that out. Oh, do I have an actual play video that shows you how I run the hex maps? I was doing the solo series, and in that series I am also doing a number of hex crawl elements. It's not always a hex crawl, but a number of hex crawl elements in it. So if you want to see how that works, you can go drop that out. There's a whole playlist over on the channel. By the way, great to see you, Bearbeard. Thanks for showing up. But yeah, it kind of shows off who it is. I've got another video where I kind of go over my hex crawling operations a little bit. It's one of those things, I do things slightly different. Most people, when they run overland hex crawl exploration kind of things, they track distance and day in that time instead. I use a different thing. I use sort of an effort mechanic where I do the amount of hexes that the adventurers can get through in a day is dependent on their constitution scores and their modifiers. And then once they sort of hit their constitution score as they go through hexes, each hex takes 1d4 to get through, essentially. And once they hit whatever their constitution score is, at that point, they then have to start making active saves against the DC, and the DC is that number that goes up by 1d4 every hex they go through. And if they fail that, they gain a level of exhaustion. So they can continue to press themselves if they want, but every failure they get more levels of exhaustion. And since you only... And I use the standard 5e rules for the exhaustion when I'm running it, because I don't like the floating modifier -1s that they went back to in 2024. I like being like, oh, well, you have disadvantage on checks, you have half speed, half your maximum hit points. I like that because they're a little bit more tangible. You don't have to deal with the floating modifiers, which was not a design intent for 5e. It's something that kind of got tacked on 10 years afterwards in the weird 2024 halfway up edition. And then there's also stuff that kind of goes into it. So depending on whether they have mounts or beasts of burden that they're taking with them, or a cart, or they're using boats or something like that, that gives them advantage on, or it gives them advantage on the saves once they get to that point. So they can push, if you have vehicles or mounts and or porters with you, those sorts of things, it allows you to continue to move even further in the day because you spend the time to have those resources in it. But that's most of it. And then, of course, we roll for random encounters, all that usual stuff. Again, there is a video on my channel if you just want to see the whole operation. A good question. I like it. Keep them coming. And we get stuff there. No point of interest. Alright, Gazi Chap. Sorry, Gazi Dalia. Chap is her nickname. Our boater in. Our meeting place. No point of interest. Treasure rumors. Animal remains, they've dealt with that. Another survival shelter. They've learned about the screaming in the woods, but they don't know anything about it yet. This needs an APL as well. So let's do a little 1d4 APL. 4. Dang, rolling high. Wish I was rolling damage instead. Those high rolls on the d4. Not gonna be helpful for my players who are not level 4. At least not yet. Characters are still lowly. I'm such a curmudgeon with giving out levels. I make them work real hard for it. Minarets, keeps, hamlets. No points of interest. No POI. Alright, we've got a repair that's going on. Our natural resource. We should now be coming down into the place where I need. Okay, so now we're into the place where I need to make some changes. And we'll just go right to left. Done. So, because the main thing that I need to change are the religious locations. Because I changed up some of that stuff, and I realized that I hadn't altered it. And that may be what we go over next time, is I may go over some of the nobility and church stuff that I kind of work into it. And this is a custom world, by the way, massive world. I don't know if I have. Let's see if I have a picture of them. Overall map. No, I don't want to use that one. Just gonna throw a quick one up so you guys can see what we're working on. It's funny every time that my players ask about it because most of them don't understand the scale of it. But a few do. A few have looked at them and like, you guys don't understand. This world is huge. It is like an Earth-sized world. Like you guys are in one tiny little corner of it. Let me put these by icons. Let me get a good one. Good. Images. Not really. Is this the ugly one that's got the rivers on it? It is, but that'll suffice. Well, actually, let me change what you guys are looking at, and I'll show you what sort of like the overall world looks like. There we go. So this is sort of the overall world. So like I said, it is Earth size, so it's got 3 quite large continents, 1 very large continent, one kind of medium continent, and then one kind of smaller continent. And right now, this island, where this island is precisely zoom in, 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 and it's about right here. That's about where it is. Right there. Actually, it's a little bit. It's more like right here. It's actually where it is. Yeah, it is pretty tiny. It's very small. But sometimes they're like, oh, well, how close is the mainland? We were talking about ships because there's a ship that left port. It's like, oh, they're going to the mainland nearby, where most of you guys are from, off the peninsula. They're like, oh, okay, so is that far away? And I was like, yeah, it's pretty far away. That's you guys are like way down here, and that thing's going to like here. So they're pretty far away. So for scale, each one of these is each one of these hexes that we're looking at here is about 300. What is it? 360 nautical miles across. So that's 400 and some change miles across. So these are very, very large hexes. But it makes it easy because you make a 60 by 30 map that covers all of it. No, I don't want to save. Okay, so close that. Let's go back to where we were. Enough farting around. Yeah, okay, there we go. That's the right one. Alright, so this one I put down as a hierophant cloister, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be something. Let's see. Yeah, so this is probably. I think it's going to be a priory. So I just need to change this slightly. It's a priory. Now, where does it serve? This is interesting. Where would it be serving? Because a priory has to, in general, generally has to be attached to a larger abbey of some type. Unfortunately, there's not really any abbeys here. There is a pretty notable temple here, though. I guess it would be in service to that, though that temple is technically dedicated to the void, and this priory is dedicated to the Hierophant. But they're both about secrets and charting. They're both knowledge things, so I guess it makes sense. This music's a little. Maybe move on from that. Move something up. Move that one. It's a little tense for what we're doing today. We don't get a lot of action going on today. Nice and easy. All right, so we'll put this. Let's say independent. Yarty's menu. All right. That's one done. Ooh, I need an icon here. Why do I not have an icon here? That icon. All right, this is a wonder. Going for wonders. I think this guy, right? All right, I'm gonna double check before I say it. I'm pretty sure that's right. This is a wonder. Oh, yeah. All right. There we go. Yeah. So we'll add this. There should be a wonder here. Just take a little stamp and we boop, we plop it right down. There we go. No point of interest. Yeah, point of interest. Just because I know that I'll need to change this little guy down here too. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go through all of them. Or Olave approach on. No point of interest. No point of Plays. Yeah, let's figure out the level. So yeah, that's another 6. The Parlay is the big thing. That's the one notable thing that's on the island. Man, rolling hot. Love to see it. Maybe not so much for APLs, but... So, this location is actually an APL 16 location. So, it's one of the things where you're a second level party and you're in this town, and then sort of like the big things that happen with this town are like for average party level 16. It's nice because it's built as their home base, so the idea is that they will come back and forth to this, to Pale a lot, which is just a town that's here. It's a port town. Named after the boatside or quayside inn that's there called the Pole and Pint. Boater Inn. So they'll come back here back and forth, but it will be a while before, for probably not even within this campaign, because the APL is so high, where they will become. Actually, that APL is too high, right? This should be 11. Oh, yeah, I did that too high, so we need to re-roll. It can't be 16. Oh, no, yes, it can. 11 through 16, and 17 through 20. Right? Or am I losing my mind? 17, 18, 19. Right. 11, 12. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. That's fine. Not what I'm looking at. There we go. So, yeah, that's fine. I'll leave it there. It's still a very high APL. Usually APL was a little bit on the lower side. I guess I could change it. I mean, I am the DM. I can change it if I want to. I'm thinking like a 1, 2, or 3, so go with that. Alright, well, if I can't stop rolling 6s, we'll just make it a 13. I'll split the difference. There we go. Just because 16 seems really high compared to everything else that's kind of on the island, so I want to bust it down a little bit. No point of interest, no point of interest. Our Makel Oracle ruins. They have been there. They definitely saw people doing human sacrifice there, so that's fun. And then got attacked and rocked by some cultists. They flood into the night. The PCs, not the cultists. Alright, we've got our octopus fishing and dying location. No POI. Okay. Some of these things I can't change too much of what's already been in here because I have made mention of it already in the campaign. Like this this charity school. I've already made mention of it. We'll get thee to a nunnery. So this is we'll just go ahead and see. It's a nun-run charity school. Which they have not been to yet, but they know of somebody who was nearby it pretty recently. Another NPC. An NPC that they have just missed continually as they go into town. Who is a priest, actually, from Pali. And every time they go to the Temple of the Leviathan, and they go to talk to him, they go there, and he's not there, he's busy doing other stuff. He's a man about town. He has things to do. Actually, he's not even in town. He's out doing other stuff around on the island. He's visiting other people. But the last time they went to the temple, they finally had a chance to meet the priest. Otherwise, they've just been talking to their moody cultist deacon that's there, or sort of like a priest apprentice acolyte, if you will, and who is a cultist of the Moj can't remember my own made up stuff. Moshkani? Anyway, she's a Doomsday cultist who works in the church or temple technically. No POI, no POIs. Recent wagon remains. Holiday grounds. This is where the priest just was. No point of interest. Got a little settlement down there. Oh, we don't have an APL for that settlement. 44. And we got a 3. I'll go ahead and down here. APL 03. There we go. APL 03. No problems. And we've got a Boater's Moor. It's under construction. And that's where the tug barge is. No point of interest, no point of interest. That's our dead well remains. That's where the priest was originally when they were going to find the priest. He's off messing around with that. And Night Swan dedicated cemetery. Then repair. Another little settlement. No point of interest, no point of interest. We're getting down to the end. I think those were the only two things I needed to make a change to, but we're going to double check just to be sure that that's all I need to change. It'll be good because I need to solve this stuff anyways. APL 3. No point of interest. Ferry. No point of interest. Settlement. The treasure room, and there's a storehouse here. The fiendish sunken storehouse trapped by human. So that is a higher level adventure location. Holiday grounds construction, which is funny because there's already like a holiday grounds like right there. So interesting what that's going to be for. They don't know yet because they haven't gone there, so I haven't had to think about it yet. Isolated homestead. I put down CCR. That should be just CR. Our secret iron mine. No point of interest. Another fairgrounds. A mid-month Souls Day market. Down here we have no point of interest. We have Mila, the druid. She lives down there. That's one of the people my PCs could be going to talk to right now about the Vegapygmy issue. But they do know that she is literally the furthest away from them. She's at the very edge of the map. And so they have opted, at least for the meantime, to not go and see her. And the Fear Grove. Yeah, alright. Well, that was everything I need to do here. Let's go ahead and save this guy. Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm just going to throw you back to chatting. I need to access some files real quick. Because if I don't save it now, I'll forget to do it later. So I'm just going to look out for later me by go ahead and doing it now. Just need to copy this guy and throw it. It'll take just a second. I need my campaign. Yeah, let's post. And that the delete that. Go ahead and put that in. Bada bing, bada boom. We're done there. Perfect. All right. So that is what we need to do there. So we're gonna knock this out. Go ahead and open our Arctic one, our nice big one, the one we've been working on, our Arctic point of interest. And what's gonna be the better way to do this? I'm thinking. Because I'm in. Oh, there we go. Center continent region map hexes, POIs, work in progress. That's the one I need. Okay. What's gonna be easiest? I think maybe it might be easiest is... Oh, I've got two of these guys open. Do the same thing open. We don't need this for right now. I'm gonna go ahead and close that. So I'm gonna move this guy over here. That may be easier for us. That way you guys can see the stuff that I'm working on kind of side by side. And 150 is pretty large. I guess it's not that big. I'm gonna need to look across the end much, I suppose. Okay. I think this will work. I'm just gonna show... I'm going to give you guys both things side by side so we can look at the things at the same time. Go ahead and do that. So rather than do that, we're going to run to full screen. There we go. Alright, so I've got the new map up. You might be looking at it and being like, oh, where's the map? And I'm probably going to have to zoom out some. starting to come into focus. Like I said, it's a big map. It's a big world. This is the middle-sized continent. Each one of these little hexes, one of these little guys down here is, let's see, this was region hexes, so they're each about 60 nautical miles across. So, yeah, it's what, like 70 something? No, maybe not that much. Close to 70 miles across each of the tiny hexes that are on here. So yeah, is big. And we're filling it up with a bunch of points of interest, but we are working it from the very bottom up. That's what we're working on today, which means we're still firmly in the Arctic area. We also started to throw down some roads on this one. Here, alright. Now just gotta find out where we left off. We're down here. Did we make it all the way across? We did make it all the way across, okay. So we've done the bottom 2 rows, essentially. You can see, even in the Arctic area, there's a whole bunch of stuff still going on. A lot of that has to deal with, the Genasi live down here for a large part of it, and then there's also weird people that live down here. There are people that live here, but it is pretty sparsely populated, except for a few very specific areas. Obviously, there's a major religious site here, and so that determines the likelihood that there are going to be points of interest in the area. So you notice that specifically in this middle hex right here, where this major religious site is, there's quite a bunch. There's a whole bunch of hex points of interest within the hexes. And then in the areas that surround that specific hex, there's some lesser, and then once you get further out from that, you get into areas where there's not a lot of stuff, where you're going sometimes like hundreds of miles between there being something. Which makes sense. It is a Arctic area, is kind of a wasteland in its own right. Let's go ahead and we'll hop back over here. So we are. So you'll see over here, there's a fully water hex for the most part that's got basically nothing in it. But we're going to start up right here. So like I said, this is right next to one of our big hexes that's got stuff in it. That means that this block of hexes, this hex of hexes that we're working on right here, and I can zoom in a little. You don't need to see too much stuff in between. And let's do it. There we go. So this block of hexes right here, and everything. This would be what I call when I'm doing this stuff a march hex or a frontier hex, because this is a civilized hex. That's why there's a whole bunch of stuff in it. So everything next to that is sort of like the march or the frontier that's next to it. Now, this is also primarily water hexes, which have an even less likely ability that there's a chance that there's going to be stuff in there. So when it comes to this stuff, usually when it comes to a civilized hex, there's a 5 out of 6 chance that there's going to be a point of interest in any hex within that area. Once we get to the frontier section, there's only a 50% chance. Now that chance goes down because it's 1 through 3 on the D6, but when we're actually in these water hexes, or what these light blue hexes are, they're coastal hexes, we actually roll a D10 instead of a D6, so 3 out of 10, so there's only a 30% chance that there's going to be anything within these hexes. And remember, these hexes are very large, so it doesn't necessarily mean that anything in there is necessarily underwater or on the water. It does mean that there's things like islands, smaller islands, and things like that that can also be in those areas. But it's a 1d10 when we do that, and then in these deep water hexes, what this is everything beyond this is in this black area, because I didn't fill it out because that's not what we're looking at for this map, would be deep ocean. In that deep ocean, instead of rolling a d10, we roll a d100. So it's a 3% chance that there's going to be something there. That way we just don't end up with deep ocean just being full of a whole bunch of points of interest, which would be kind of weird. But also, you know, islands and stuff like that, and aquatic civilizations and things like that, and settlements, and those do exist in the world, so I do want there to be chances for that when I'm filling out this map, that there is a chance to be like, oh, there's a sea elf collective here, there's tritons, there's a random island on it, like a little archipelago or something that's going on there, that's like a volcanic archipelago and stuff like that. That's really where we're going to start off, and we'll just start off there, and we'll keep going across and go on with that. Ooh, what made me start using hex maps for overland travel? Was it TTRPG or video game? If so, which one was it? Oh, that's a good question. It was for sure. I don't know. I guess it's a mixture. So my introduction to D&D did include an exploration-based travel adventure to it. Like, that was part of the adventure in the first sort of D&D products that I had way back in too long ago. So that was probably my earliest introduction. But I would say, I think, what really kind of jumped on my brain as far as looking at like random encounters. Certainly I played lots of things like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest and things like that that have an overworld map that you travel on and there are random encounters on and stuff to discover. But I think the one that probably did it most for me is the old, it's old now anyways, Dragon Age Origins, where there was a chance when you were traveling that you would come into random combats and things like that. That's probably the one that I was like, oh, these are fun. But most of the time, at least to my memory, they didn't happen often enough that I was ever upset by them. And then if I was low on resources and traveling, or low on health, and I had to travel somewhere, that was always kind of a little ratcheted up that tension to be like, I hope I don't run into a random encounter here because I don't really have the health or supplies or whatever it is to back that up. So yeah, I think that was it. And then when I kind of got back into D&D, I just enjoyed it from the world building. I'm a very exploration based player. I like to do a bunch of exploration stuff. I like traveling through the wilderness and delving dungeons and figuring out traps and puzzles, etc. Right, not as much puzzles than people who watch the channel know that. I'm not a huge puzzle person. But I like that clever play, that finding out stuff, that exploring just to explore kind of aspect to it. So I think that's the thing that kind of gets me onto it. Also goes a little bit with my background of just doing things like Boy Scouts and camping and backpacking and all that kind of outdoorsy stuff. That, climbing, rappelling, etc. Those kinds of things. It just makes me really appreciate that aspect of the game that I'm not sure lots of other people have maybe context to enjoy it that as much. Maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'd say that's probably the reason. Alright, I'm going to actually put the dice roller over here, I think. I'm going to take it off of here. Well, I can leave it on both places, that's fine. Alright, so we need some D10s. Hopefully that answers your question. I think it answered your question. Alright, well, there's definitely nothing there, so we'll go ahead and put... I don't think I've done that on these, no. Alright, well, that's a lot of no POIs to put down, so we won't continue with that. Alright, so nothing there. Oh, got something here. Alright, so we got a point of interest here. It's our first point of interest. Right, we know this is, we're in that 11 through 16 band, so it's a D6. Know what sort of APL it is. I think, let me do it. Yeah. Oh, I'm not doing this specific. I was just doing APL 11 through 16. That's fine. We can do APL 11 through 16. Fine. We'll just copy this and we'll save it. Bam. Okay. That means we need to roll a D20. Right, I rolled a 4. So we've got some sort of travel haven that's going to be here. D6 plus D20 for our theme. Alright, we got a 6 and a 20, so that's going to be whatever the last one is. When is the very last one? Fiend. Okay. So something fiendish in origin. Alright, so... yeah, what do we think? Supply cache or dumped materials? Okay. Dumped materials. We'll go ahead and put dumped materials. This could be like an island where somebody's like put a cache of stuff. Essentially, we could put fiendish theme. And again, we're doing real light notes here. We're not trying to get into the super nitty gritty, try to fully flesh any of this stuff out now. There's no point in doing that until we know somebody's going to be playing here and know that they might come across this stuff. Right now, I'm just making my own sort of personal reference map for the world. So all I need to know is there is a fiendish theme going on there, and that just means that like it could mean that there are fiends here. That could mean that it's just something is tied to thing. That could be the materials that were dumped there are fiendish materials. Could be like soul coins or something like that. Which nice to make a pirate treasure that is soul coins would be a very cool adventure idea. And maybe we can have like a Flying Dutchman like devil ship that chases them. No, all right. I already made an adventure for this. Great. So we've got that in our back pocket. All right. So we're in the march. There's a chance that it's occupied by not people. It's monster occupied. What's our D8? 1. I'm just gonna copy this. Oh, interesting. It makes sense that this would be monster occupied, so it's not a place where there's a bunch of people. Oh no. I forgot that it takes the color when you do that. Guards or mercenaries. That's and what is it? Do a chance of adventurers. And that's just a note from me. I put those down there. It's like, hey, there's an... if you go to this location, there's typically a roll of d6 is down here on the left. Roll a d6 if one of the common traveler groups is at this resting at this location. In this case, there's a 50% chance that there might be some adventurers, some guards, or some mercenaries there. Makes total sense. Those are totally the sort of people who might be looking for dumped materials. And you know what? Let's go ahead and firm it up. Go ahead and say, buried treasure of soul coins. Oh, if I can spell. And that gets our fiendish theme, so we don't have to worry about that. And we know that it's monster occupied, so there are a bunch of monsters here who may or may not also be looking for the buried treasure. So we got sort of a treasure island kind of thing going on that could happen here, which is pretty fun. Go ahead and put that down there. Put a little heart. Because this is technically supposed to be a travel haven. Even though this travel haven is not much of a haven. It is monster occupied, and there's a chance that people are going to definitely get into fights here. But this does mean that this is a pretty notable location. People are going to know about this area. There's going to be some sort of myth or legend about, some sort of a rumor about, oh, there's an island where it says that the devil captain buried all their soul doubloons. Kind of thing. All right, moving on. D10. Remember, we gotta get 1 through 3. Didn't do it. Next one. Didn't do it. All right, so these two are empty. Now we have an actual island. So this is a larger island, and or maybe a very large iceberg that's hanging out here. We don't know. Let's say, or yeah, I guess iceberg. So an iceberg would move around. So I guess it does have to be. It would have to be an island. It's fine. Or I can change my mind. I don't care. I'm in charge. I can do whatever I want. Not my mama. Oh, well, we rolled a 1. So we know for sure there's going to be something here. What we get? 19. What's 19? Remains. All right. Down here. Drop our little flag down here. There's some remains here, which is nice. Like this location above it, that's got our buried treasure. Maybe that's a. That could also be. Well, it could be a shipwreck, but shipwreck is usually remains. We've got our remains. What type of remains are we dealing with? I guess I should do my themes first. 11, 611. What is that? Okay, so we know it's in the weird, and it's going to be fey, something fey in nature. Maybe 16. That again. Fey remains. What kind of remains are we dealing with? That's a D10. Come on, vehicle. Nope. Alright, disappeared with a cryptic clue. Okay, what disappeared? 4. Creatures. Alright, some sort of creature disappeared with a cryptic clue. Disappeared, leaving behind a cryptic. This is drawn, for me at least, this is drawn from the, sort of like the historical area from like the disappearance of Roanoke kind of aspect, where it's like, oh, these people just went somewhere. To this day, I'm pretty sure to this day we still don't know what happened to the people of Roanoke. They left that thing carved into the tree, and as far as we know, we've never found bodies. We don't know what happened to them. They were starving, and they went somewhere. And we don't know what happened to it. All right, so they left. I should put this creatures disappeared. Could be fake creatures. That would make sense. So let's say apparent cause. So what do we think the apparent cause? So they disappeared. Like, very cryptic. It could be mysterious circumstances. There we go. So our examples of mysterious circumstances here are, by the way, suicide, ritual sacrifice, disaster, inland, shipwreck, something of that nature. What could be something fun? I don't have my thing with me, otherwise I'd roll on my D66 table to give me some sort of idea. Demons, got them. That's right. Demons got them. For sure. I mean, could be. It's pretty reasonable considering the point of interest of this next one, that demons might have gotten them. Let's see. What could be a cool... I don't have to come up with this, but it's nice to come up with it beforehand so I don't have to think about it later. Let me roll again and see if I can get like a weird result for something else. 4 would be an environment. They're in the Arctic, so you would expect that people would freeze to death. But the thing is, they're mysteriously disappeared, so we don't really have no... Maybe there's like a big scorched ring. Not like a full circle, like a fire that was a circle, but like a ring of scorch. Which, you know, as said, kind of lends you to thinking, oh, well, probably demons got him. Some sort of infernal portal, but doesn't necessarily mean that. But I like that. I like that. Let's go with that. Let's go with it. There's no reason not to. Cryptic clue. So our fey remains. Oh, but it should be something fey. Mysterious circumstances. Maybe they only left behind like a fairy ring or something like that. Fiery ring. Fairy ring. And the trouble with having the mic in front of me is that I can't see. There we go. Fairy ring. Since I don't have a really good idea, nothing's jumping out to me, I don't have to force this issue right now. I can just be like, maybe a fairy ring, and move on from there. Sometimes that's it. That's all we gotta be. That's as good as it's gotta be right now. We can always go back, obviously, when I'm playing this area. If I ever drop a campaign in this area, I can flesh that out a little bit more and dive into it and really kind of maybe get some other resources to kind of help me sort of percolate some ideas in the brain. Figure that out. But for right now, that's totally fine. We don't need to worry about it that much. Each. That's a big old one. So there's definitely going to be a point of interest here. What do we think? I feel like I was missing something. Oh, I forgot to do the remains status. Do one last D6. Alright, I got a 5. So let's see. Empty / Pictoclane. Meaning there's basically no loot here. Alright, we got that. D20. Big money, no whammies. Isolated homestead. Got it. Okay, we got some sort of humanoid. What kind of humanoids we got? Yeah, that's it. Ooze. We got oozes. Interesting. Interesting. Very interesting. Homestead. And we've got an ooze theme. Remember, it's just the theme, so it doesn't have to be that there are oozes there. Just something's got to be gloppy, right? We got to have something oozy about stuff. Could be anything. We rolled our isolated homestead. All right, what kind of people we got here? Well, D6. 4. It's a mage tower. And it is occupied. Okay. We'll go ahead and throw down the icon for our mage tower, which I like to use this little mage hat. Boop. So there's a mage that's chilling out here by themselves. Now, this is occupied, which means that there should be a settlement attached to it. So that means there should be a population. We're dealing with the region hex, so they should have a village associated with them. Alright, so let's do a D10. Alright, am I gonna roll another D10? I'm sure not. Nope. I need a 4 or better. 8. Do 8. How many people are here? 870. Quite a few people are living here, in this area. So, probably going to be a pretty sizable island. But there's nothing that says that this mage tower has to be above the waves. This could be some sort of, like we said, a sea elf for tritons or all sorts of weird creatures that live underwater. It could be an underwater mage tower, which would be pretty cool. Alright. Nothing else we really need to do there. It's pretty straightforward. Mage tower, isolated homestead, APL 11 through 16, so it's going to be a very powerful mage. Now, mage doesn't necessarily have to mean wizard too. It could mean like a druid or something of that nature. Just some sort of spellcaster. Spell slinger, if you will. Alright. Gotta get a 0 on this. We do not. So there's definitely nothing there. Move on. I don't know why I'm doing that. We've got this over here. I have to flop back and forth. Ooh. 3. Yeah. 3 will do it. What are we gonna get? What are we gonna get? Big money, no whammies. A crossing. Okay, we got a crossing. See our theme. Interesting. We're getting something weird. I clicked on the wrong tab. Nope, we're getting an aberration as a theme. We've got an aberration theme. You know that we're working with a crossing. Back to our crossing. Here's what we know. Is it manned? No. Okay, then it won't be told either. Is it in disrepair? Yes. Okay. Whatever the crossing is, it's in pretty bad disrepair. 2. A bridge, hewn stairs, or ladder. Obviously, some of this doesn't work with our water area. So, if that's the case, then I'm thinking that maybe we go with a portal. Which might be... We'll roll again, but I think we'll probably go with portal. Portage, tunnel. They don't need a portage. Where we are. So, we're probably going to go with tunnel here. Or not tunnel. I'm going to go with portal. Especially since we have that aberration thing that's kind of going on. Go with that. Now the question, is it occupied? With monsters, it sure is. Great, so monsters. So we know that it's a monster-occupied portal. So we'll go ahead and put the cross sign on here, which is this little wavy guy. Interesting. So we know it's aberration theme, so this will probably be something related to the Far Realm. Might be a rift of some type. It might not be like a formal, like Stargate style portal. It may just be like a rift. That's all we need to know for that right now. Is that it's got a whole bunch of monsters in there. This could be like a very similar to like beginning of Warcraft, where there's a portal that opens up that brings the horde through. Who knows? Alright, here we go. D10, D10. Nope, nothing there. Now we need the 0. Didn't get a 0. Do we get a 0 on that one? We sure don't. Nope. Yes. Okay, so we got something here. Great. What do we got? You know what? I'm gonna do... I'll do the theme before I check. How about that? Alright, 1-5. What is 1-5? Giants. Alright, so something giant themed. And 9 is some sort of omen information or warning. Omen information or warning, and we're using... I believe we're using the bell for that. I should have pulled up the document that had these on there. I didn't do that. Because I'm a fool. Actually, it's not on this one. Yeah, on that. Okay, good. Just making sure I didn't change something. I need to go back and change, which I did. Alright, so we know that it is a omen info or warning, APL 11 through 16. So it's giant themed. Alright, we're gonna roll a 2d8 and choose whichever one I like the best, or maybe combine them if we can. That's always a fun thing to do if you're ever rolling out a table that's like a, even if it's like a 1d10 table, a 1d20 table, a 1d100 table, whatever. You can actually make that table much more robust if you roll twice on the table and see if you can just merge the results together, like mix them up. And then you go from having kind of like a 1d20 table to having a 1d20 times a 19 table, which is a lot of results. Now some of those do overlap, obviously. Alright, so we got 8 and 5. So a statue or petrified creature, that's pretty cool. And a megalith. Ooh, a megalith made out of petrified giants, that's dope. That's obviously what that is. What do we think? I'm trying to remember which one's which. Is Cromlech the one, the table? Here's where I write things down and then don't remember them. Cromlech, is Cromlech the table? No. It must be Dolmen. Yeah, alright. Dolmen's the thing I'm thinking of. Yeah, so I'm thinking like one of these kind of structures. But all of the actual like megalith stone aspects are just petrified giants that have been stacked. Because that's weird. What's going on with that? Don't know yet. Dolmen of petrified giants. Bam. Got him. Alright, yeah, let's do some age. So we need to know the age of it, 1d6. Alright, it's old. No surprise there. Helps to give things like ages so you know, like, whether this is something that's like a current thing they can deal with or it's a very, very old thing. And then it's helpful to know, in this context, when my chuckleheads of players wander in there and be like, oh, well, we're just gonna like unpetrify these people real quick. Be like, these people are from like 1,000 years ago. They don't speak what even is normal giant anymore, even if you speak giant. So you would actually need to like use tongues or comprehend languages to even speak with them, and they're not going to be able to give you probably a lot of pertinent, up-to-date information about stuff. But could give you information about old stuff. So if there was this could be a thing where I drop in this location and be like, well, if you're looking for something that happened hundreds of years ago, you could potentially, if you can figure out how to unpetrify these giants, you might be able to talk to one of these giants. And they might be able to give you some insight as to what was going on and see if they know anything. And so it's a cool, like, chapter of the quest, the oral campaign they could run after. The cool thing, and then it's side quest to figure out how they get rid of petrification if they can't just do that with a spell already. So yeah, and that's why we take 2 results and try to put them together, because it does weird stuff like that. Alright, so we know it's old. Let's give us a d6 for our occupation. 3. So, monster occupied. Interesting. So could be more giants, could be something else. And what is this site communicating? Warning against a danger in nearby proximity, or warning against some behavior? Transmitting useful information. We're telling an omen of doom or a prophecy. Try a prompt roll on an oracle chart if you need help. I'm not going to pull out my oracle chart right now. I'm thinking that this has got to be like a cautionary warning about something. Or an omen. I'm thinking like this is maybe like a very tortured soul kind of thing. So I'm thinking this is... So relates... Omen of... I'll say doom or prophecy. Maybe it's like literally inscribed into one of them, so if you bring them back from being petrified, now they have these deep gouging wounds in them where people have basically chiseled into them. It just becomes wounds on them, which you might have to heal. Just to make it a little extra awful. Alright, I like it. It's weird. I like weird stuff sometimes. Real funky. Alright. Up. Up. Alright, we're going right into another one. Alright, I said that we were going to do the theme first. 6 and 9. So 6 and 9 would be something celestial. 10, a natural resource that's got a celestial theme to it. Resource, celestial theme. Perfect. All right, let's roll some more dice. So let's see if it's a common, a rare, or an exotic thing. Ooh, it's exotic. But something exotic that's inorganic. This kind of makes sense that it's probably something on the seabed, I'm guessing. And let's find out. Are people doing something with it? Ooh, there's a permanent operation. Interesting. Oh, this is one where I need to take this guy. I need to take this guy, and I need to put him on this one. There we go. Alright, so we know that they're looking, this is exotic, inorganic. But it's got a permanent operation there that's always getting this natural resource. I'm trying to think of what you would pull up. I mean, of course you can pull up something like basalt. I'm thinking of something more useful, something inorganic that they would be pulling up that's celestial in nature. Is probably the weirdest part, because it's not water, and it's not some sort of plant life. It's not some sort of like sea life or sea creature. It's got to be something inorganic. I'm guessing maybe just shells. It could just be shells. Which, you know, technically kind of organic, but we're going to go with inorganic for that. Because it's either that or they'd have to be pulling up, like I said, marble or something. Unless, you know, maybe there's something down there that's like a ruin of an old celestial temple, which could always be the case that they're trying to pull up maybe marble or something like that from it. That could be a fun thing they're doing. I could see that. Which means this is one of those circumstances where if nothing's really jumping to my mind, I don't actually have to figure this out right now. So maybe, nice thing, you leave yourself some gaps, some stretchy, rubbery substance that can be sort of the ligaments between the different stuff that's kind of going on in the campaign. Be like, I don't have to figure out the specifics right now, so that way I can solidify what the specifics are in play. I just know that there's something like this, so if I find something that can relate to it, work. Okay, so we know there's natural resource, exotic, inorganic. And there is a permanent operation situated there. So this is, whatever it is it makes a lot of money. Or is otherwise very important. But again, we don't need to know the specifics at this time. We'll just allow this to suffice to be enough. We do need to figure out the occupation before we move on. We're in the march. All right, so this is occupied. Great. Great, so not monsters, which is great. Perfect for this. And we're now about halfway through here. I'm surprised that we've had as many points of interest as we had when we're only a 1 in 3 chance. but sometimes it's just like that. Sometimes we roll hot. There are a few hexes in here. Sometimes the Google Dice get hot, and you just end up with a bunch of points of interest that doesn't seem like it should be statistically viable, but it is. Right, this is our little guy. This goes for that. That's our natural resource. Little clover, and we'll keep trucking along. All right. Well, again, right into a point of interest. So 3 and 12. All right, so the theme is elemental. And we've got ruins. Nice. Take our little pirate flag here. Some elemental themes that are kind of going on. Ooh, yeah, let's figure out our age real quick. How old are these ruins? Okay, they're old. Not ancient, but old. And let's roll a d12 to figure out what type of place this is. All right. So, sometimes this happens. Do I want to do this? Sure, it's fine. Why not? So I rolled an 11, which is a construction. So it's an abandoned construction site. Of some sort of dungeon or lair. Interesting. So it's old ruins of a lair construction. Now, one of the things that we do need to figure out, I'm going to hop over to dungeon lair. Or, sorry, not dungeon lair. Construction real quick. And we'll just roll just a straight d20. Like, if we roll high, this is going to be a construction that's abandoned. If it's low, then it's going to be a repair. Right, so, okay, so it's an abandoned construction. What is the percentage of construction that completed? Sorry, I'm supposed to be rolling a d20 for that. Wait, oh, so only 15% completed, so not a lot. I'll just drop that. Old ruins of a lair construction. Interesting. Let's go ahead, just because I know it's dungeon lair. Is it a complex natural structure? Well, it can't be a natural structure. There's got to be a complex or a prisoner vault. Prisoner vault. High it'll be vault. High vault. Layer. So I'm just going to put in here vault. So this is the dungeon archetypes up here, which is helpful for me building stuff. Is that there's really only kind of like 3 types of archetypal dungeons. There is a complex, that's a place where people live and work. There is a natural structure, your classic like caves, things like that. And the third one is a prison / vault, because a prison and vault are essentially the same thing, except prisons are meant to keep things from the inside getting out, and vaults are supposed to keep things from the outside from getting in. So it's really just a matter of perspective and like which way the traps are facing. And those are the 3 major archetypes of a dungeon. There really aren't any other kinds. Those are 3. You can, of course, go into it because complex could be like a village, a complex could be a city, complex could be a castle, it could be a fort, it could be a temple. It's just any place where people live and or work. Like in Sandpoint in Pathfinder Adventure, you go through the tunnels that are under like a it's like a glass workhouse or something, or like a bottle making plant or something like that. So that would be, you know, a complex that goes into kind of natural structures. No, I guess maybe not. Maybe it's a little bit more like a vault. Because they are keeping something down there. That's neither here or there. Let's get back on track. We got our dungeon lair, we got our construction, let's go back up, we got ruins. Alright, so we need some cause. What is the cause of the ruins? Ooh, some sort of accident happened. Now, I need to redo this because this is made from our ruins, but the same thing still works. There was some sort of accident. Accident. Alleged accident. And then we asked our question, like, why was this not overtaken or repaired? Why did they not continue construction on this? That we don't know. Again, if I had the oracle out, I might roll for it. But since we don't know and we don't need to know, we can just ask ourselves the question for later. Why not overtaken? Repaired. We don't need to answer that question right now. Alright. Do I roll a 10? I do not. We'll move on. Alright, that's not gonna work. 1, 2, okay. Right here. Alright. Add some more stuff in. And there's a different setup, like, so the hex stocking, because I haven't talked about that on the stream yet, because it hasn't come up. But you can see on the hex stocking tables on the left that it's a 1 through 20 table. But if I am ever in the civilized area, like the Heartlands area, there is a chance, depending on what I roll on that D6, that I'll roll a D12 instead of a D20. So it's more likely that in a highly civilized, occupied, or heavily, yeah, I guess, heavily like humanoid, in civilized, inhabited area, that you're gonna come across 1 through 12 more often than 14 through 20. And so there is that 1d20 list is weighted heavily towards the 1 through 12 being things that you would be more likely to come across in civilized lands. That includes settlements, holdings, religious sites, travel havens, crossings, dungeons and lairs. Because dungeons and lairs can also mean like bandit hideouts or robber barons or just an opposing castle. There are meeting places, isolated homesteads, omens info, or warnings, natural resources, constructions, and roll twice and combine, which is number 12. But once you get outside of that, area, you have an equal weighting on all 1 through 20. So in addition to that, on the other side, you have an equal weighting for ruins, conflict areas, no trespassing areas, treasure rumors, wandering monsters, landmarks, remains, hazards. You could put landmarks in that 1 through 12. I left it out because when I think mostly about those landmarks, I'm usually thinking about natural world wonders for the most part, or weird world wonders, not necessarily things like the 7 wonders of the world. Like, that stuff would make more sense. But a lot of those locations, like, say, the Taj Mahal and the pyramids, that are world wonders, are also just religious sites. Well, I guess. You bury people there. So that's basically a mausoleum. Actually, there's a third one, I think, that's also a mausoleum. A lot of mausoleums. A lot of spots for dead people. But that's neither here nor there. Alright, 619, that's the end. We know that's going to be Fiends, I believe. Double check. I believe that is Fiends. Sure is. And number 13, oh, is ruins. Do I need to redo this? Did we roll this already? Oh, that's my place. Get busy talking about something else. Not sure if I want to do... regardless, I'm not sure I want to do 2 ruins back to back. No, this is a new one. Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll do it. That's the nice thing about whenever you're randomly rolling for things. You can always override that, but I don't really have a good reason to, other than be like, there are ruins closer to each other, but you kind of expect ruins to kind of be in an area like this. Fine, and this is going to have a fiendish theme that we can apply to it. How will this stuff be? Alright, old. Cause. 4. Environment. Okay, so think about the environment. Environment. These are old ruins. And we can roll a d12 for what type of ruins are these guys. 1. Okay, so it's a ruined settlement. In this case, that would make it a ruined city. They're old city ruins. Things that could have happened. It would be very, very weird for it to be something like a hurricane or something like that in these polar waters. In these very cold waters. What is it? It should be a pretty sizable city. But there's just a dead city. Could be underwater again. Could be underwater. I don't need to figure that out right now. Well, it's got that fiendish theme. It could be like an Atlantis thing. Maybe it fell into the water. Dropped down in the water. I feel like music got very ambient on me. I was like, is it still playing? It is still playing. So why not overtaken or repaired? We'll still have that question. Question mark. And let's see if there's anything we want to throw in. So again, this is going to be a city, so it should be between 1 and 60,000 people lived here, so pretty sizable. We don't need to know anything actually. It's about making settlements. We don't need to know that. We don't need to make the settlements because those people are presumably dead. Alright, and then we do need to probably figure out some occupation that's kind of going on here. I guess we didn't do that here, huh? That's okay. We had that as monster occupied. If that is occupied. I guess it should be... I should put for the ruins. Usually ruins don't have people in them. But there's no reason maybe don't add that. I mean, people do live in the ruins of a city. Sometimes. Let's go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and add this to ruins. Just so we have it. This is always a work in progress. It's never 100% finite. It's never truly done. It's always a work in progress. So we'll do it for both. We'll do it for this one first, and then we'll do it for this one. Okay, 1. Alright, so it's going to be occupied. So there's going to be people in that one. Or sorry, monsters. There's going to be monsters in that one, occupied in the second one. Okay. Perfect. So, there are... And we're just going to put monster occupied down here. You go there, there's of course monsters. You come here. We'll do that. And we're going to say this occupied. But not by monsters. Dog worshipped a weird god and they took the city over. Yeah, I mean, that's almost more like Kuatoa, but yeah. But yes, for sure. That smacks a little too close to home because right now I'm playing in a campaign where stuff like that is kind of happening. Was right in the middle of happening, honestly. So that one's a little too close to home for me. But But yeah, perfect thing to put in there. But now we've got this one that's occupied, so we know there are going to be some people in there. So there could be the last dregs of people living through the ruins. Those could be occupied by who knows what. But we do know that there are people instead of monsters. But nice to see you, Rellin. Thanks for showing up. Alright, so we got that done. We're going to keep moving and grooving. Alright, rolling the d10. Again, on a 1, 2, or 3, we get something. Not that time. Alright, again, we're rolling hot on the d10. We're getting a lot more than probably we should. We should really only get about 30% in here. Bandits. Yeah, I mean, bandits is a really common thing that could be living there. Yeah, I was thinking looters, people like that, people who are, like, picking through it. Like relic hunters, that kind of thing. Yeah, that makes sense. Fair. That would be the case. I like that. What I rolled a 2. Alright, so we got something here. Let's figure out what that's gonna be. Alright, so we need our theme first. Take it from a themes. That's definitely gonna be something in our natural world. We rolled a 4. That's gonna be something plant-based. Alright, so we got a plant theme that's going on. This is for another crossing. Good. Living through 16. Copy that again. Bada bing, bada boom. So this is gonna be crossing. And this is gonna be plant themed. Interesting. Alright, so we know it's crossing, so we'll go ahead and put down our little crossing camp. Bonk. There we go. Alright. Is it manned? Yes. Is it tolled? Yes. Alright, so this is some sort of tolled crossing. Is it in disrepair? No. Alright, so it's good repair. It's in good repair. Old crossing. We still got that plant theme that's kind of going on. I'm trying to think of what plant theme we could kind of go. Let's go. We'll see if we can get some inspiration kind of going on. 2. A bridge hewn stone. We rolled that the same thing. Let's see if we get something different. 4. Guide or wayfinding mark or fairy. Fairy would make sense, I suppose. Some sort of bridge hewn stairs. I'd like to use that result if I can figure out how to do it. Some sort of bridge hewn stairs. Fortunately, a lot of the crossings tend to be land to land, so it does make sometimes when you get crossings in the water more difficult when they're out sort of like on the sea. I'm trying to think of something that would work like a plant theme. Your bridge works. Stairs. It kind of makes me want to do something like kelp foresty, but I don't know. Exactly why you would need to do that if you were wanting to go under the waves. And sometimes you just don't have a good semblance. But maybe we just do that. This is going to be our wayfinding mark. Yeah, let's just do a wayfinding mark. That makes sense. So we're going to do a plant-based wayfinding mark. But then how do you toll the crossing? Now I've asked myself another question that I can't answer. I was trying to see if there was something I could do with like maybe like a mycelium network that went underwater, but I don't think anything like that exists. Not that it couldn't exist. I didn't think how that would work, and then you could ask them for directions to things, and they would know. Not sure. Yep, hold on. So what's going on here? Why did I just get a thing that YouTube is not receiving enough video to smooth streaming? One moment. My internet appears to be working, as far as I can tell. Okay. Everything looks like it's doing okay. We're just gonna keep moving on. How about that? Well, we'll probably just go on from there. I don't need to worry about this too much. So, and let me. Boop. Boop. There we go. Where the recursion fully takes over. All right. Let's see. So good repair, told crossing. But it's got to be a guide then. Yeah, there's some plant people. We could use like plant people maybe. There's some pretty good plant people. Let's let me get some filters going. Let's get. You know they're gonna be plant themed. Let's see if we can get something that's kind of planty. Let's see, maybe like a. Whoa, thorny gas spores. Oh yeah, let's go with treants. Maybe it's gonna be like an old treant island. I like that. That seems like a good one. Yeah. Well, gosh dang it. Treant island, good repaired, told. Let's say Treant Island itinerary makers, maybe. The repair's not as important here, but told is the main axis. So, the idea being that this Treant Island sees a lot of travelers, and so in the case, I think maybe they trade information for information, maybe. And if you can't give them any new information they don't already know, then you have to pay them money. What do treants need, or something else that the treants might need? And if you do that, they're able to kind of give you directions. Say, I'll just say, let's say Treant Island knowledgeable navigators. And directions. So if you go talk to the treants on the island, if you can't give them any sort of new information, maybe you can buy them with some sort of filthy lucre. And if they do that, they can give you directions to one of the many, many places they know about from people who have traveled throughout the many, many years the treants have been alive. Seeds! They're seeds! Give us the seeds. Seeds could be a good one. Yeah, maybe some sort of like exotic flora. That would be hard for them to grow in that area. So I'd have to think about that. But yeah, no, I like the idea. They want something like that. I was thinking maybe like some sort of like good soil or fertilizer, or who knows what they would ask for. Blood and bones, blood meal and bone meal. That'd be a fun, interesting, and kind of dark thing for a treant to ask for. We want the blood and bones of people, so that way we can turn it into fertilizer for ourselves, so we can continue to be strong in this harsh climate. Sounds good to me. I like that. So a crossing usually comes with a settlement. Roll a d6. Figure out what kind of settlement. Alright, I rolled a 5. That means it's occupied. That's great. So we need something higher than a 4. We got higher than a 4. 55. All right, there we go. So in addition to that, there's going to be a settlement population 5. There we go. So there's a large kind of village there as well. That works for us. And let's get back to it. Tins. Here we go. Here we go. All right, nothing there. Moving on. We'll just do roll them. Got another one. Like I said, those dice are very much hot right now. At least hot in the low side, I guess. Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 now. Got 10. So, I mean, we're on track for like 1 every third, because there's what, like 31 hexes, I think, here. We're a little early. We're a little above average, but we're not that far above average. You'd probably be higher if we didn't have those ocean squares. Those ocean squares really keep us from having too much stuff going on. Alright, and let's get our theme and then what we're looking at. Alright, so another natural theme. We rolled another 15. So monstrosity themed. Interesting. And we rolled a 16, which is a... Ooh, we got ourselves a little treasure room. Nice. Alright, so we've got... we drop a little star down there. That's our treasure roomer. And of course we have that monstrosity theme. Let's see. Alright, so we got a treasure roomer. Is it new? Old? Okay, it's recent. And it's already been looted. Yeah, that's right. I put treasure out there that's already been looted. Hey, sometimes, like it says, it's a rumor. Alright, so we know that it is a recent treasure rumor. Which is a great skip level. Like, I can send adventurers there and then go see it and find out it's been looted, then find out the clues of maybe like who did the looting, and then it becomes kind of more of a chase rather than go to a location, find the thing. It's go to the location, find out it's gone. Now you have to chase down the people, find the people, you get whatever you were looking for, and move on from there. If it's, you know, the old plot MacGuffin that they're chasing down. Alright, like it. I like it. It's been looted. Looted! In our treasure location. We didn't do that. So let's, we'll roll 2. Let's see if we can put it together. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4. So a storeroom. 5, 6, 7. A relic storeroom. Okay. There could be a reliquary storage. Sounds good to me. Let's see if there's a good monstrosity. This is a watery thing, so we can go very much aquatic here. Let's grab a monstrosity, and from our native environment, let's try aquatic. I would also take Arctic. I would also take coastal. I'll take swamp, and I'll also take underground. I don't think there's just a cave. Oh, there's a cave. And yeah, that's fine. We need something that's alright, so we can go all the way up to the Tarrasque, which I don't think we're gonna do. Rimaraz, I mean, of course, classic Kraken, right? That may be too high of a level for us. It'd be very, very high. We could do Hydras, and Hydras are kind of low. I mean, Kraken makes the most sense. It would be a pretty tough fight, but it'd be right at the edge of bouncing out of that tier 3 of adventure. But I like it. It makes sense. It's in the water. It's protecting reliquaries. So we'll go ahead and we're gonna put Kraken theme down here. We'll just put Kraken themed for now. So, might have something to do with the Kraken. Maybe that's what the reliquary is, what the treasure is. And, you know, I'm just going to say, I'm going to change it from relic wary, because that'll make me think, future me will think, oh, that's related to some sort of religious object, but we're just going to say relic storage. Another reliquary. Alright, got it. Done. Moving on. Let's go here. I don't know why I did that. This is what I need to do first. Jump the gun. Ready for the next one. We skip one, and then we get one. That's about how it goes. Alright, 5 and 5. Alright, so that means we're definitely going to be in our weird category. In our weird category, aberration again. This time it's a religious site, though. So for the religious site, we use this nice little red temple Parthenon looking guy. And this could be our religious site. And perfect. Okay. Religious site. Is it old? Is it recent? Is it new? It's recent. Okay. Put this up there. It's recent religious site. And we got everything else. We're going to roll 2d12. Pick them or combine them. Alright, 11, some sort of temple or church. Super easy. And 6, we got an isolated grave, cairn, or kist. That makes me think this is probably a chantry of some type. If you're unfamiliar with chantries, they're basically, it's this thing that happens where somebody wealthy dies, usually like a king or some sort of like baron or something like that. And then they basically erect a church for that dead person and then essentially pay a priest to pray for their soul. That way they get into heaven. And that's essentially what it is. It's a weird thing. Catholicism, and well, at that point it was just the church before the schism. And it's weird. But it makes sense to me that if you throw those two together, when you've got an isolated grave and you've got a temple or a church, that it's probably a chantry. So that makes sense to me, so that's what we're going to go with. This is going to be a chantry. Done. And how are we doing right here on our guys? What do we think? What do we think? We like it? We like it? Yeah. All right. Oh, it's empty. I like it. It's giving me very poor, windswept, cold island in the sea. That there is no settlement around. It's just an isolated church, maybe on a bit of an island, just off by itself. And there's just kind of rolling in. I'd probably draw inspiration for something like the Lightkeepers. You're like, they're like a handful of people here, and they are most assuredly going crazy from isolation. And who knows what else they're doing to each other. And, getting mercury poisoning. Well, that would be the Lightkeepers. Getting mercury poison, drinking ethanol, and all sorts of weird stuff. Or maybe, somebody got killed here, and everybody's super cagey and weird when the PCs show up to ask questions about stuff, or maybe something's happened. Maybe the person that they prayed for to be dead is not quite. Perhaps it's a vampire who's feeding upon them. Maybe we can do fun stuff like that. When you have a little isolated church out in the middle of nowhere. Perfect. I love it. We're going to keep moving. And that the vampire doesn't care how cold it is. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nada. Enchilada. Alright, so we finished off this hex. So, as you can tell, this kind of takes a while. It's not bad. I enjoy it. So then, so the amount of time that it takes does not deter me. Now, you might be looking at this and being like, "This is really, really slow. This map is massive." And I will inform you, it's like, hey, if you want to run D&D or you want to run Hex Crawls, or maybe it's your first time looking at stuff that's like Dungeons & Dragons focused or TTRPG focused, this is not a model for what you need to do. This is what I need to do because this is how my brain works and what I like to do. I like having this giant world that's got all this stuff that's in it that I can throw and I can vomit into players for years without ever having to duplicate stuff. And I just build it out. It's fun for me. Just the world building aspect of it is fun for me as well. So that's why I do it. But if you need to run a game, say tomorrow or next week, this is not the model for what you should be doing. This is a model for I'm creating a custom world that I intend to play in, and run campaigns in for basically ever. And so that's what I'm using it for. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a... how long have we been going? Oh, we've been going about 2 hours. Tell you what, I'm going to take a quick power break. We'll come back. We'll maybe answer a few questions, maybe some stuff. It's getting a little late for me. You know what? I changed my mind. We're just going to go ahead and end the stream. Thanks, guys, for coming and check it out. Hopefully this hex mapping stuff is fun for you. You guys can see sort of what I put into it and how I do it, and hopefully that will spur you and help you create your own hex maps. It's a very fun way to play the game, play D&D. It is somewhat different than, especially if you are playing with people who maybe have only played D&D in later editions of D&D and not earlier editions of D&D. I find that those players are not accustomed or used to understanding how a hex crawl kind of works. I know that I have that own sort of struggles with it in my current campaign with my current players, because they've just never done something like a hex crawl before. And so having an idea is like, hey, you're dropped in this island, there's lots of people you to talk to, there's lots of different quests to go on, is a little bit confusing to them. It is sort of like drinking from a fire hose in a lot of ways, is that I'm constantly sort of like vomiting potential adventure hooks at them. But it's a style of play in which the characters take center stage, in that they are the ones who drive the action. So that's like, if you decide not to do anything or you don't know what to do, then action doesn't generally happen. It's a situation, it's a campaign setup or a game setup in which the players are active and the world is reactive, rather than how D&D is traditionally, when D&D is played now, which is the idea is that the villains are active and the adventurers are reactive to villains. So it's a swap of those roles. So it takes some getting used to. It's a very different approach. So if the players don't take action, there's nothing for the world to necessarily react to. But it is a very fun way to play. It's just a little bit different. Now, it's great that you can mix in a lot of this hex crawl stuff in addition to normal kind of standard narrative play as we know it today. Is that and that's sort of how I'm doing it now, is that we saw the map of the island that I'm playing on. They have sort of a plot that's going on that they're following, and I use the island as basically points of interest locations where I can be like, oh, well, here's a person you can go to talk about this. Oh, here's where a little side quest is. Here's a place where you might find an item that might be useful to the overall campaign. Or, hey, you know that the film is potentially hidden in one of these 3 different locations. Which ones do you want to kind of go and check out first? And you can do that kind of stuff. So it can still be useful to create hex maps and play with it that way, and do hex crawls and have it be like, oh, just journeying across the island and doing that stuff and running into random encounters and other NPCs and learning about stuff and trading and exchanging ideas and doing that stuff, or picking up quests for later, etc. Makes the world a lot more rich than being like, okay, you go from point A to point B, from point B to point C, and then that's sort of the entire campaign. So I'm trying to mix and blend the two various aspects together, and I think it's working out pretty well. My players seem to be enjoying it, so I gotta be doing something right? And if you have players that keep showing back up, then you must be doing something right. And that's the most important thing to remember whenever you're running games, is that if you have players that keep showing back up, don't be too hard on yourself. You're probably doing something right because they keep showing up. If they weren't having fun, they wouldn't show back up. But yeah, that's it for me. Thanks for jumping in this impromptu stream. I'm going to see if I can do a little bit more of these kinds of streams going forward, rather than our standard Saturday streams, which is generally what I do. Usually Saturday morning. So if you want to see that, if you like this content, of course, like it. If you want to see more of this style of stuff, make sure and subscribe, because we're going to be doing it more. And if you want to get a notification when I go live, because again, I don't have a super ironed out schedule at this point. I mean, that's what the notification bell is there for, so you can get notified whenever I'm going to go live. Or you can follow me on Twitter or BlueSky, Red Ragged Fiend on both. There's also a website and DriveThruRPG, etc., etc., etc. I don't need to throw all that stuff at you. But that's everything for me, guys. I enjoyed this. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you found something useful. And I'll see you guys next time. Alright? Bye.